I'm sitting here just cruising along doing this SB220, and I'm about 2/3 of the way done, and my brain clicks on and says, hey, Big Rob wants to have a video done of this, so let me get you caught up to date. Big Rob sent me this very pristine, very clean SB220 up to me. And he says, do your thing to it. And I said, one of the things I always like to do when somebody sends me an SB220 is I like to replace the high voltage caps. So he said, do it, get it done. I just want it done right. I said, okay. So I called up Harbach. I got him a new capacitor bank coming. This would have been in the top 5 of the cleanest units I've ever had show up here. This thing has never been in a smoking environment. It's never been dusty. I put my parasitics in there that I like to use. I got my tubes in there. And then I realized my input is just a mess. So I thought I'd pop the face off real quick. I haven't never seen one of these be so overdriven in my life. There's supposed to be a 3.2 k ohm resistor that goes from there to there. It is no longer with us. It has gone on to the resistor gods in heaven. So I'm going to put a 3.2 k ohm resistor back in its place, and I'm going to clean all the scorch off of there, all the carbon trace. And then I'm going to see if I can get it to lay down on all the different bands. So that brings us up to speed. There wasn't a whole lot I had to do other than I slapped a capacitor bank in it. Oh, and then the other thing is somebody put an auto key circuit in this thing, which I had to disable. I took this out of the chain because I don't like having to switch the amplifier off to be able, click the amp to off position to see what the power level of the radio is as I'm working through all the bands. So I have that temporarily bypassed, but I'll have that back in there for you, Rob, when it comes back to you. So we put some knobs on it. I'm going to clean all this carbon out of here, replace that burned up resistor, and we're going to see if we can get this thing to take off for you. I'll be back. I want to show you guys something. Hopefully the phone won't ring. So when Rob sent me up his SB221, which is what we were working on just a minute ago, he also sent me this SB220, which he sent it up here 4 parts intentionally. And the SB221 that I got to repair, which is mint and still has got the factory stickers on it, and it'll look mint when I'm done with it, I had to go in and get some parts out of this one. I figured, well, why I had this amp, I'll just go ahead and I'll strip all the parts out of it. Look, guys, this box isn't garbage. To a lot of people, they'd look at it and it's pretty bent up when it got here. This thing was pretty chooched out. Not a single piece of this amp will get wasted. So, like, let's look at the faceplate. People see this faceplate and see garbage. I see gold. What we'll do is I'll have my buddy run it through his roll press, and we'll get this thing flat again. Then I got another company that will actually paint and silkscreen this thing for me and make it look like brand new. So I'll pull the Heathkit badge off, and I'll take the meters out. Now I actually saved the meters because this plastic body that makes up the back of the meter, these have a tendency to break over time. So I'll save these plastic bodies. And the faceplates for the meters aren't all that bad. So I'll save these. The knobs, this one's destroyed, but the variable is still good. The light holder is still good. This light holder is still good. So I'll strip this all the way down, and I'll get it all cleaned up, make it all look like new. This is the side plate that goes here. Once again, we'll bang it all out flat. I'll take it over to my buddy Paul's house, and we'll re-weld up all these holes and re-drill them. And then we'll clean this all up and make it look like new. We'll sonic wash it and make it look like new. On the top side, if you can see, not a single part has been forgotten. By the time it's said and done, this side plate will have come off. The inner body plates will come off, and these will all get bent back straight, and we'll weld all these back up with the Heliarc machine, punch new holes in them if I need them. We'll pull the tuners out, and I mean, I save every nut, bolt, screw, everything. Now this thing was in a smoking environment, which makes it disgusting. It's got a broken fan blade, but the motor's still good. The little keeper ring that holds the fan blade on down in there, it's still good. I have a big giant shelf of SB220 parts, and I save every motherfucking thing. I have a lot of these come in here to get repaired, and they'll show up, and they'll say this stock grill in the back is all smashed up, or somebody's drilled holes in it. Well, I take this over, pull this out, take this over, media blast this up. I got maybe 30 bucks into it, turn around, charge the customer $40 and another $15 to reinstall it back into their box. And it looks like new, everybody's happy. But these actual parts are unobtainium. The breakers, I know that we can still get these, Harbach still sells them, but the actual relay connect for the RCA connections, the actual coax connectors, we'll keep all of those. Of course, you keep all the sockets, the filament chokes, we keep everything. If it's not completely broken, I'll take it out of here and it'll go live on into another amp. So this amplifier, this little donor amplifier, has given me a new backplate, new inner panels, new side panels. I probably won't save the body pin, the actual pan, the body pan, but I'll save the reinforcement struts on the bottom, and I'll save this this actual back flange. I'll cut the deck off back in here. I'll save every single part, the grommet, the actual SB220 grommet, which everybody, you'd look at this and think it's not a unique size. It is. These little screws that go into breakers, I'll save everything. It's all gold to me, because somebody's amp will come here and it'll just be destroyed when it shows up. From this one amp, we got the plate transformer, the filament transformer. Now this capacitor bank, I don't know. I mean, these are made in the USA and they're technically the right voltage and the right microfarad. But I'd rather just use the brand new Harbach. But I'll keep all the trays. I'll keep the body for it. This rectifying circuit, this is the high voltage portion of the rectifier for it. I'll keep the board. Because yeah, it's a little chewed up and somebody's been on there and modified it pretty hard, but if you got enough love like I do for this, you make it into something. This is the body panel that holds the capacitor bank. Once again, if we go over and sonic wash this, all this shmew comes off. On-off switches. These son of a bitches are hard to find. The actual SB220 on-off switch, I get guys that ask me for these all the time. There's money in parts, you just have to be able to find the right way to be able to get it out there. Now here's the cruxus. This band selector, you can still get it from Harbach, and that's what's burned up over on the SB221. The front band selector is good on his amp, but that front band selector, I'm here to tell you guys, is impossible to find. You have to find somebody that's willing to rip their SB220 apart. It's a mono band unit, and all this whole slug package. Now I've got 2 or 3 of these that I keep and I have sitting on the shelf. I bought them off eBay. Some I paid about 50, 60 bucks for. Some I paid $125 for. It's like I got one that's never been installed. The guy bought a kit, never did the build, and actually took the whole kit and sold the whole kit on eBay. I was like, cool, I'll take the meters, I'll take the knob set, I'll take the faceplate badge, I'll take the switches, I'll take the band switch, I'll take the coils. Let's see. This is what he sent me. Let me pull it out here. Never been installed. Straight from the factory. Never been put into anything. It's that same unit right there. That was almost 200 bucks. Here's a replacement backband switch from the same kit with all the attached hardware. But it's got to be in this good a condition for me to take and put it into somebody else's device. Now this amplifier here that I'm working on, this SP221 that I got here, is rare. It's a factory built amplifier and it is signed, which makes it very rare. So my whole goal is I got to take this band switch out, because as you click it up into the 11 meter position, the little tab that's attached here, hopefully this is in frame because I can't see what I'm doing. This little tab that's here is burnt off. So the highest loading that it can get is in the 15 meter position. So you can see the tubes are drawing the right amount of plate amps. They got the right amount of the volts on them, and it's dropping the right way. So the voltage is present. We got the right bias. Oh, I wanted to show you that too. Where did I put that? This was the most amazing thing I've ever pulled out ever in my life. Oh, where did I put that? Oh, where did I set that? I call it the penny from heaven. Let's see what I mean here in a second. Is that over here with the amp? Yes, here it is. So, on the back side, it sits like so. On the back side of this board, it sits like this. This is on the inside. There's an aluminum panel that sits here that completes the amp deck. There's a zener that plugs into the bias circuit, and that's what controls the flop. Well, somebody had created this circuit with a voltage regulator IC for the zener, to replace the zener, because obviously the zener had gone bad. And that's in that SP221 that I've got, that I'm working on. I was like, what? So you sit there and you step on the pedal and you got no voltage flop, so the tube was always staying in cutoff. Couldn't do anything. So I go to take this out and I look down in there and I'm like, oh, there's just a little copper washer or something back in there. I take this out to replace it with the actual zener that's supposed to be in that spot because I'm doing a restoration on this box. That's a penny. They used a penny to hold this in place. I was impressed. Me personally, I was impressed. I was like, wow, that's some... Somebody had to sand that penny down, because that's not cut, that's sand. Then they drilled a hole in it and then they sanded it down. I was impressed. It made me impressed. Just the sheer amount of energy instead of just simply buying the right part. I mean, yeah, I know that zener is like, what are they, like 25 or 30 bucks just for the zener. And then the insulation package that goes with it, the little mica insulation package that goes with that diode, it's like another $10, $15, I think. Yeah, instead of doing it right, they came up with that idea. I mean, it might have worked at one point, but it wasn't working now. And since the guy wants to have it fully restored with just a few of the most minimalistic upgrades to it, I went ahead and put a new zener back in there. But now that I got all these parts out, I got to catalog them all. Like, here's all the nuts. Here is all the lock washers. Here's all the flat beveled screws. Shooting a video, Boogie. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I saw him outside the front door.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, let's test it.
He's okay. He's okay. Shooting a video, sweetie pea. I'll cat all these parts and get them all put away. And I'll bring the SP221 over here, and we're going to have to take the whole front end of the box apart so we can change out this band switch, which is no small chore. Peace. I'll be back. So this is the fun part. See, that's the reason I got to take this whole other section out, is because we could just cut this thing. I mean, I could just get in here with a pair of wire dikes and chop this thing to be out of there. That's not what people send these things up here for me to do. They send them up here because I take the time to take the whole thing apart and do it right. So now, guys, you gotta remember the side that is all by itself. You're gonna have this tagged post here. This is gonna go to the 1000 puff cabinet, or 1000 puff cap that's on the cabinet. And that's up. You gotta remember how it's orientated so it's indexed properly. It's up. Okay. So instead of just cutting these, each one of these leads, I gotta look at this, that the guy, we need this part, but we don't need this part. So why would I want to go and damage this part when I could reuse it on something else? So just take, it might add an extra hour, maybe another hour and a half to the repair. Take the time to take it apart, fix it properly. Man, that silver wire sure can conduct that heat good. Woo! Alright. So you gotta remember, you don't want to stress these tabs. Well, why don't we want to stress the tabs? Because you break the son bitch, you're screwed. So the trick's not getting a rush. Now, they make this stuff called Redox. And Redox is the most aggressively corrosive thing we could ever use. So I strongly suggest that we don't use Redox. Redox will oxidize the cabinet and it'll cause all kinds of other problems. So now we'll go through and we'll clean up all the tabs. This is called a solder sucker, you guys. It's a little bellows pump. I had a buddy of mine come up here the other day and he was hanging out with me, and I grabbed this thing real quick and we sucked out some trace work and got it all cleaned up on his amp. And I was like, what is that? He goes, man, I buy miles of solder wick. And I'm like, yeah. So they make these motorized versions of soldering irons. And the motorized versions of the soldering irons, they're cute and they work on surface mount stuff, but they don't seem to, the heating element on them is tiny, so you end up spending a lot of time trying to get the solder to actually flow to where you can pull it out. And then the little chamber that's attached to it, they usually will have a little glass chamber that'll sit up above the iron. They work on small traces. They don't, the bigger, more brutal stuff, they don't seem to work too well. So the idea is to clean out these eyelets so when I go to put it back into the other amp, I'm not fighting uphill. It's like they said in Blade, there's always some motherfucker trying to ice skate uphill. Well, just a couple minutes of prep work can save you a lot of time in the reassembly. Just applies a little bit of a low vacuum to it and up it comes. Now, the problem that we're having with the other band switch that's in the SP221 is that, remember, this is up, okay? So as you move your band selector along, click, 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 click. So now that'd be 10 meters, okay? Then 15, then 20, then 40. And then on the bottom tap, with the most induction, because of the lowest frequency, all right? This is your top tap, the one that actually bonds on here on the coil. This coil's garbage, by the way. I can't reuse this, but I'll save it, because I save everything like this. You make contact with this 1,000 puff capacitor that's on the side of the cabinet. Very carefully move this back over. The ear for the bottom transfer switch here, okay, and the ears, little tabs front and back on the top switch, are welded. And I mean, they literally look like they've been blown apart. So what's happening is the last place that it can make contact on this switch is here for the 15 meters. So it's like the switch is always in that position, even though you move the band switch up. Click. Now, experience will teach you that to try and rebend these little tabs that are on here will get you nowhere. Don't even bother trying it, because it'll work for one, maybe two band selector movements, and then it'll lift off the selector again. And I'm telling you, these silver-plated pieces of copper that hold this thing together are work hardened. And now, one try. Once they start to go bad, it's over. Okay, so we're going to use our nylon brush, our toothbrush, and our brass brush. We've got to be really careful how we do this. I've had a lot of guys here recently ask me about what I use for a cleaner. I use the stuff I buy at the RC shop here. I actually bought a whole case of it, and I'm going to sell this stuff for just a couple bucks a can. And then the other thing I use is Nitro Clean, which is kind of a little bit more aggressive cleaner. This does leave a little bit of a residue and will make plastic soft. See, I just use a little bit. You never want to go this way with it. If you notice how I'm doing this is I'm putting the brush down and I'm pulling it away. So now we're going to switch brushes. You can see where the fingers were at. Just a little bit of Nitro Clean. After, before. Now I could tell just by the taste of the solder, the flavor of it, when I was taking it out of the, taking it apart. This is in a smoking environment, and it also comes from someplace in the south because this has been in a lot of moisture. You can taste it. Gotta use all your senses. Made me think of my granddad's house when I was a kid in Oklahoma. A lot of this is just surface corrosion. Because remember, this is silver, and even though it's corroded, it's still very conductive. I cleaned up real good. Please note I'm not giving any attention to these tabs. I will not touch those with anything. There's a tiny little bit of carbon score down in there. I'll try to wipe that away, and that's about it. Black is actually silver. It's in the porcelain now. So some oxidized silver. Just like that. So take window cleaner, Invisiglass, spray it onto the porcelain. And I found that it has a tendency to lift whatever's in the pores of the porcelain. It'll lift it up. So the nitro clean helps break down the oxidization. Kind of rough the surface up very lightly with the brass brush. Hit it with a nylon brush, then come back with even a softer nylon brush. And then, so then you end up, you're going to get a little bit of walk. There's going to be a little bit of silver that's going to walk away from this because it's all in the corrosion just a little bit. That's pretty. It's way better shape than what's one that's in that box, I'm here to tell you. So, you come back and you hit that with a little bit of window cleaner. A non-ammonia based window cleaner, by the way. Then you hit it real good with the electronics wash. It blows it right off the porcelain. So the last thing we got to look at is in between the tabs. Stuff will break down flux like no other. Spray it on, let it hang out for a minute, come back, re-tap it, just a little bit of cleaner and it'll fall right off. Yeah, it looks like new. It's like a brand new piece. Okay, so we've managed to salvage out of this the two most valuable pieces in this box, front and back tuners, which we can still get this one new from Harbach, by the way. But I figured since the guy sent me out a parts amplifier, I might as well use at least one part out of his box that he sent up here for me to salvage. This is one rare son of a bitch right here. Yeah, I put this video up. I put a video up saying, hey, if you got parts out there, I'd like to buy them from you. Man, I had some of the most interesting individuals call me in the world. Hey, man, I know a guy that's got a whole garage full. Well, sweet. Give me a list, and I'll buy the stuff from the guy. Well, I never did get a list and never did get another phone call. I never understood what that was about, but yeah. I heard some very interesting people, but everybody really wanted to help, which meant the most to me more than anything else. Everybody wanted to get involved, everybody wanted to help, which I thought was neat. So, throw this up on the bench or up on the shelf. I'm going to go catalog this back in inventory, put this on the shelf, and then I'm going to bring the SB221 over here and we're going to start tearing it apart. I'll be back. Some of these jobs I feel like I'm taking apart an airplane. Just trying to do a very careful restoration of these, like down to the little details, because this is a factory built box, which makes it fairly rare. It is signed and inspected by, so I don't know if the guy that owns this thing is going to care that much, but I care that much. So what I mean by that is I go to the smallest details, like this piece of wire, which goes to the selector, so you can check, change between your high volt and so forth. I take the time and I unsolder it, and I try to even keep the factory hooks, because they take the wire and they put it through the eyelet and they try to hook it over. I try to keep those hooks intact. Like here's another one with the hooks intact, so I'm not having to trim the wire back anymore and put it back just the way I found it. Now the downside to what I got to do now, because this amp is clean, and it is clean. You can tell by looking at it that this is one of the cleanest ones I've ever seen. I've got to take this section out, but to take this section out, I've got to undo some of the things I've just done. Like this whole capacitor bank's got to come out now over here, so I can get access to taking the plate choke out, the whole high volt section out and disconnecting it, so I can take this whole, I want to take this whole assemblage out. I mean, I could go down in here and I could cut, and I could snip those wires and then kind of stuff them back over and solder them back together, but it won't look right for somebody that's looking in from the outside. Is anybody ever going to really care? Probably not. But that's the level I go to when I'm doing one of these. So now I got to go down here, I got to unsolder this coax, sneak in here and unsolder this coax, and I got to go in here and disconnect that capacitor, and then I'll lift this whole unit out as one piece. That way I can leave this band selector intact. Other than disconnecting a couple wires from it, I don't have to worry about it getting torqued, because behind this knob set I've actually got the set bolt that holds the face on. And I wanted to show you guys something. This is the cleanest set of meters I've ever seen. These are still clear. I don't know if these are afters or not, but even the aftermarkets, even the little gaskets that hold the meters in place, they're intact. This knob is in the best condition I've ever seen any of these. High volt relative power and grid knob. And the faceplate's in really good condition. So normally I'd take it and I'd lay it over here, but since I'm going to have to basically gut the whole box to do this simple band switch replacement, I figure I'd take this off and try and keep this as much preserved as possible. But these meters being this clear on the back, they normally start to yellow and they get really super brittle. So be very careful not to break these. But the transformers on this thing are like they just showed up off the factory floor. That's the condition I want to give the box back to the guy in. All right, on to the next step. That was not as much fun as you think it would be. This sucked. But it's out. There's our band selector in the back. It's not as burnt up as I thought it was, but it is burnt up enough. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's all scorched there. It's burnt up enough where it's not making contact anymore, and that's causing us to not be able to get any power out of this thing. So let me, now that I've gotten, take a brush to this and I cleaned all the dust out of it. There's a little bit of dirt in here, but not a lot. If we look over here where the high volt capacitor used to sit, you can see where that was. We got really super lucky. The original insulator material that they have sitting back here came off in one piece. They normally don't, so we'll have to reglue this down, and then we'll have to reglue the backer to it. Sometimes these don't come off in one piece, and then we've got to create a new one. I use a little sheet of Teflon for it, but this actually came out in one piece, which is great. So we'll throw some self-adhesive epoxy like what you'd use on carpet or pad, automotive adhesive. We'll spray some adhesive on this and make it all sticky and stick it back in there. By the time we're done, you won't even be able to tell I was in there. But that's the front third of the amplifier. It sure comes apart a lot quicker and it goes together. So continuing on here. That was fun. Friggin' dowel didn't want to come out of there. So we sit here and we look at it. This is what would be the amp deck facing side of this thing. And you can see, or this would be the wall. So this would face in like this. Okay. As you can clearly see here, these fingers are obliterated. They're no longer even attached. They're bent and bowed up. And you see there's quite a bit of burning on this paddle, also in the 10 meter position. And as I move this through its fingers, it's not making contact. It's just sliding through those fingers. It's just the wipers moving through the fingers, and it's not making any surface contact. So now when we go around to this side, you see this red that's on here? See that red that's right there? That's residue from redox. And this whole plate is cookie cuttered. I don't know if you can see that, if that'll translate. that whole thing is literally taco shelled. Focus. Fucker. There you go. It's literally taco shelled. And then when we move the wiper out of the way, this thing is burnt. Completely burnt. Here, focus here. Focus there. There you go. This thing's completely burnt. And so's this one. And so's this one. You know, higher up in the HF band, the 10, the 15. Focus here. It's a beautiful camcorder. Don't get mad and try and throw it. This thing is hollered out, man. So if I work that in there, that one's worked in there too. I guess that makes okay contact, but not enough to where the RF is happy. Yeah, it's in there just shit-ass loose. That tab's all bent up. But I have its cure. This one, on the other hand, is super tight, way smooth. So, instead of spending any more time worried about it, since we know it's a tuning issue, since we can see the tube's making power, but it can't come out the damn amp, I'll put this son bitch back together. Get on with my life. So, let's start the slow process of undoing everything I just did. You're going to be happy. You're going to go on to somebody that's going to love you and take good care of you, not run you too hard, hopefully treat you with love and respect, so we can get this stupid rod to go through. Oh, it fell right through this one. Well, I thought I was going to break the wafer trying to get it apart on the other one. Love you and take care of you and treat you with respect. They're not going to overdrive you. Well, they better. As soon as they get their first bill from me, they're going to be like, oh shit. Therein lies the difference, boys and girls. So which way am I indexed right now? I think I had to move it around to the 10 meter position to get this shit to happen. I did. Oh. The lock washer. Well, they love the hell out of these lock washers, man. They're on every goddamn thing. But it's they're there for a reason. I understand they're there for a reason, but it's like a lot of the kit boxes you get. And the guy put them together himself. There's usually hardly any lock washers on anything, and apart again. Beautiful. All right. You'll never guess what we're doing now. You never guess. Ugh. We gotta take the faceplate off this son of a bitch again, because we got input issues, and I don't need the meters on the front to tell me what's going on. So instead of wearing out this solid core wire, we're gonna go in here and we're going to do some tube load emulation, and make sure to take a picture. We're going to do some tube load emulation here. I'll close the relay and I'm going to figure out what's going on, because it's doing it on all bands. It's not doing it just specifically on one band. And I can get it tuned down to where it's got like 10 watts of reflect on the input. It's still way too high. I mean, I'm getting the 2,000 watts out, so I'm building power out. So I know that this section of the box here, the output section, the upper portion of the deck, is good. Now it's something going on with the front input side going to the tubes. Now, we already know that there was a problem there because of this. Remember you guys, I showed you this? Well, this happened for me driving it with a 90 watt radio. Focus. This right here. That's that 3.3K or 3.2K resistor, and it's part of the Ampere circuit. So if the RF can't go in, it bypasses through this cap, this little disc capacitor that's down in here. And then sitting between that disc capacitor and the rest of the meter circuit is this 3.3K resistor. So it backs up into that resistor. Resistor's burning again. And I can also see the input reflect is off the chart. So I'm going to take the face off, and we're going to do that next. So we're going to look at the input circuit. So that means you guys get to see my KC901 antenna analyzer one more time. Woo-wee! Alright, I'll be back.
Anyway. 9 of the
So this is
as you can see, 6, 6, 6. I got them in series. Click, click.
This is an old video that was taken off VHS. That's Minister in the corner, and he's talking about his battery bank in his mobile to run a 32 or a 64. It's the kind of stuff I listen to when I'm out here working in the middle of the night. Man, let's come over here. Let's stop looking at that for a minute. Let's come over here. And let's talk about this guy. So, I think where we left off last is I went in here and I was going to play with the input alignment. Well, we got the input all lined out, and I'm driving it up, and I'm getting about 2200 out of it, and it goes pop! Drops back to 0, and my input reflect takes way off. God damn it. The little Zener that I replaced I don't know if you guys can remember or not, but it had that funky transistor in there. It was held in with a penny. I got it around here someplace. The funky transistor was in here. I placed it with the actual Zener part. There was a little arc that went from here to here and fried to Zener. Well, apparently it's happened before. And so then it's happened again. Now it happened here. I'm done with this board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that board out and I'm going to put this Harbach board in its place. This is a brand new Harbach board we're going to throw in here. We're going to be done with this thing. The other thing I figured out when I was redoing the input was the coax that comes from the band selector in the front down to the bottom to the tubes had a short in it. So I'd really start standing on it in watts and it'd start arcing inside that coax. So put a couple hundred watts in it and it'd start arcing over. It wouldn't do it like 80, 90 watts of drive. You put about 200 peak watts in it and it would arc over and the input would reflect and it would jump up. So that's what we're going to do now. Pray to God, since I've had the whole box apart now, not once, not twice, but 3 times. I even went as far as to emulate load from the tube section on the output side and looked at it with the analyzer coming in. It's perfect. And the same thing with the input side. I emulated tube load. So it took me a minute to figure out, because it popped real quick and then nothing, right? So I thought I had something also fail in the input section again. It took me a little bit to figure out that Zener had gone bad. So as soon as I seen the Zener quit, I went, okay, this isn't working. So we're going to put this Harbach board in and go from there. Anyhow, we shall return. Okay, so here's the Zener. Put my chest in front of it. Maybe it'll focus. Here's the Zener, right? That looks good, right? No. If I push it in and twist it, it makes contact, and then it works. So the little arc I seen was from the bias unloading, from this coming uncoupled. Never cease to amaze me. Every day I see something new. Okay, let's get the board switched around. I don't know why. They have the stock tuners in them. They are tight. Okay, we're on a 5x position here. Let's see. Make sure I get this in frame. Over here is a 5x position in PEP. That's the average meter. It's a 5 watt silicon reverse. What I want to show you is how small of adjustments I'm having to make and how radically different it makes the wattage on this thing. So we're going to play in the 2000 watt realm. Okay, so we're going to hit this thing fairly hard. And the reason I want to hit it hard is because I want it to fucking break. Because if it can't put up with this little bit of like 300 watts of drive, what good does it do us for me to be, oh, look, it's working. Oh, it's so cute. It's working. And then ship it across the country. You got to plug it in. And then don't work. But see, now this thing has also been very misleading to me to where it's like I'll get it all tuned out and I'll touch the tuner as I'm hooking something else to it. And it'll say, oh, it's not putting out power. This thing is real finicky. And I mean like on a grand scale finicky. And I really want you to see that. So, there's about 2200 peak, right? Watch. Just lost 500 watts. And pay attention to this hand. That amount of movement. There's a 150 watt difference between that and that as far as peak power is concerned. And there's a lot of chasing back and forth. Like you'll get it in the load. Let's go back down to the 2000 watt scale. Oh yeah, let's French kiss fucking a couple thousand watts. Stupid auto key circuit. I guess it's a ham thing, I guess. Okay. So now I back the drive down to about 150 watts. So full deflection on the meter over, let's see here. There, that meter. My hand is like a mile away from this amplifier. To get this close to almost being done and get electrocuted, I don't want to do that. So let's run our dead key up here a little bit and make it work a little bit. Hello. Let's back this down some more. Hello. Back it down some more. Hello. Okay. So now we're seeing about 1700, we're on high. Watch this. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. We just took like 600 watts out of the box by turning the knob that far. Hello. Look at that. Now we're down to less than a couple hundred. Hello. It's not that the box isn't working, it's not properly tuned. Hello. Hello. You see how small I'm moving those knobs? Just like barely moving them. Watch my hand. Don't pay attention to the watt meter. Watch my hand. Hello. Hello. So we got our 1800 back. But it's just very fine adjustments. Now, there's no huge knob turning going on in this game, you guys. When we've seen me do this on the intent analyzer, we've got our overall frequency, and then you've got your dip and resonance, which comes all the way down here to 0. So by adjusting the tune and the load knob, you're taking that dip and you're moving it back and forth. This is what they mean by dipping the plate. You're dipping the resonancy of the plate. Okay, anode. You're taking the anode circuit, the match circuit that comes off the anode, and you're dipping that. And you're making the dip in the frequency chart build to the lowest point of reflect, the highest point of resonance. Hello. Hello. Now we're overcoupling the plate just a hair. Hello. 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 Very, very, very small adjustments. And it's going to be that way for 15, 20, and on down. Very small adjustments. None of this big wild knob movement. It'll take me 10 minutes to find where it's resonant. And that's the hardest you are on your tubes, is when you're taking it in and out of resonancy. Nothing there. It starts to hop up now. Hello. 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 Tubes are starting to Cheria up. Look at how long we've been on the key. And look at the output ratio or aspect ratio from the tube's point of view. It's getting full drive now, finally. It's getting full drive into the tube. And its SWR on the output keeps going 30 to 1. 30 to 1. Oh, no, 25, 15, 16, 12, 11, 2, 1, 0, then back to 30 to 1. The hardest thing you can do to the tubes is constantly retune the bitches. Set it and forget it. If you run, let's say, talking to the CBers now, let's say you run 28. Tune for channel 27. Let me explain to you why. Because if you tune for 27, you're not going to be blowing every way on 28 going, and becoming the butthole dingleberry asshat of the band. But when you change that one channel, it's 5 KCs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 KCs away. 5. You're not out of the resonancy of the amp. Because the amp's going to be 40 to 50 KCs wide. Well, 30 to 40 KCs wide in resonance is going to be like, what? 6 channels up, 7 channels down? Give or take? A couple? So that gets you from all the way from down to channel 20, all the way to channel 40 by tuning for channel 27. Think about it. You know I'm telling the truth. Now, I'm one of these guys that I like to tune for max peak power. Because you can tune for your maxed average power. You can tune for your maximum dead key. I like to tune for max peak power. Either it be max average power, as in peak envelope power and average, bird, or max peak envelope power, PEP power. I like to tune the circuit to where the voltage is the highest, which is peak envelope power. And those guys that don't believe in peak envelope power, you're foolish. Yes, it's more fun to play the hard game of, well, I run the average meter. Unless you can get that son of a bitch to run a... Look. It's all about adjusting the output circuit to where it has the lowest output reflect ratio aspect from the tube. When you get there, you've got a large chunk of resonance. For the ham guys get it. They'll get down there to like 3.88, whatever. And I go fire down. Now, me personally, I like to tune on AM. But since ham guys don't understand AM because they're scared of it or something, I don't know. There's some 80 meter guys that aren't. Not saying all. They hit the little sideband button. And they sit there going, skew, 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 skew. So meanwhile, the meter's just going, try a long, consistent tone. Hello. That way you're putting a constant, steady load on the equipment. So when the amp's not all the way in resonance, you're not banging the crap out of the tube going, just hello. Then load it up, and they forget about it. And they go run the amp from here, and they go run the amp from here, which is like 4 times the amount of frequency span that we get as CBers. By the way, I'm a ham guy too, but this is what it is. This thing's picky, and it's going to be tight. So, now that we got this sucker running, let's jam a little bit more modulation in this and watch the needle disappear. Hello. All right. Our dead key down a little bit. Hello. So now I've increased my drive, but my output power has only gone up by 200 watts. Hello. Come over here, adjusted. Bounce back over here. Hello. Needle's gone off the scale now. Hello. It's on the stop peg. Just by making a little bit of adjustment. If you increase your input power, your output power is going to thusly reflect. It's going to increase, but then you have to retune the circuit because you got a higher voltage present upon it. So it's going to change its resonance point. Hello. Hello. 600-700 average. 21-2200 PEP. Hello. It just runs it to the corner. Oh my God, am I glad to have this thing running right. I have chased burnt coax. I got to replace this resistor that's right down in here, by the way. It's 3.2 ohm because when the bias kicked out, the tube went into cutoff. The RF didn't have a place to go, so it backed up to the closest thing that it could find, which is going to be this resistor. There's a capacitor, then that resistor, and it's part of the metering circuit, which I'd explain some other day. I got to put another 3.2K ohm resistor in that hole. And then I'm going to pull all the knobs off, put the face back on, put the side guard back on, make sure all our LEDs, knob switches, and all that stuff's working right, solder all that onto the board, We're cooled off. Solder all that onto the high volt board and shoot the wrap video for this. I'm done. This little bit, because it was so chewed up by a CBR before I got it, has been a nightmare to get running. I mean a nightmare. But she's running great now. Not gonna bitch at her. So guys, give me just a few more minutes. And through the magic of cinematography, we'll be back. The faceplate will be on. All this stuff will be hooked back up. All the meters will be on here and running and tested. And maybe I'll hook up my 7000 or my 706 or my 7600 or my 7300 or my 440, my 940. I'll hook up one of those ham radios and we'll give it a shot. Okay? So we'll be back. It's working. It's working. Okay, so faceplate's back on. All the knobs have been indexed. The high voltage works, the relative power works, the grid meter works, the sensitivity knob fully works, the plate ampere meter works and is accurate. And yeah. So listen to the messages first things first. We're gonna put about 300 watts of drive into this thing, roughly 275 or so. Walk around here, so I don't feel like reaching over the top of the death machine. I'll put that's a 1000 watt slug here. Let's see here, 1000 watt slug in peak, 1000 watt slug in average, 5 watt slug in reverse. And over here to the right, got the little baby bench 2-pill, and we're going to hit this with the 2950. We're in straight up 11 meter mode. About 230 watts, somewhere in there. So we'll put that up into 2x. So when that needle on that meter goes all the way that direction, it's 2000 watts. Off the scale. Hello, audio. Look at the plate amp meter. Hello, audio. Hello, hello. Remember, it's got a 1 amp transformer that works with a voltage doubler in it. So we're going to take that down to 5x. So now the 10's 1000, 20's 2, 30's 3. So with that voltage doubler, it's got a continuous duty 1 amp transformer in it. Now, I do need to get around to doing this. So I got a buddy of mine out of California, his name's Steve. And I got him a replacement. That's from my buddies over there at EPD Electronic Product Design. This is a direct bolt-in, drop-in replacement 1.5 amp transformer. Yes, sir. It says 1 amp on it, but I know for a fact, the way Peter builds things, we could probably put 2 on it and it wouldn't care. But I need to do a video on dropping that in. I'm going to do that on my own personal SP220. I happen to have 2 of those here. And I'm going to put one of those on my buddy Steve's SP220 here shortly. Well, let's get back to it. So anyhow, let's do the high output power test. Hello, audio. Now remember, like I said, very, very, very small adjustments. You're going to be a lot of back and forth till you find the butter zone for 11 meters. Hello, audio. I'm going to reach up here, I'm going to turn the mic gain up. Hello, audio. Hello. Look at this plate meter. It's going up to 0.8 of an amp. Hello, audio. Okay. So we're super saturating the tubes. Now, I do that for 2 reasons. One, I want to show everybody, yes, the box is actually working correctly. The other reason that you want to do that is because you're now stressing everything inside this amp as hard as it will ever be run. So if it quits, fails, dies, as I'm technically overdriving it at this point, that's fine because it's here at the repair shop. I want it to fail here. So we'll run our dead key up. Instead of making it just a solid swing machine, run a 400 watt dead carrier on AM. Hello. Hello. We got a plate amp meter. Hello. Audio. So we're swinging up to about 600 bird. Back that down a little bit. Hello. Hello. Audio. 650 bird. And we're still well within that amp range. It is what it is. It's working. Well, let me, it's going to be a little bit of a chore, but I'm going to hook up got sitting way over here on the other side of the bench. I've got an ICOM 706 that I'm going to hook up. This bolted down. So we're going to run through the frequency gambit real quick. And hold on one second. All right, I got to run around the band and actually validate what I got going on. It's in the 5X position, 1000 watt in PEP, 1000 watt slug and average, 5 watt slug and reverse, bench 2 pill, 2950, with a 5 watt slug between the 2950, the 2 pill, and the SB. 221. So, that's our input tune on 11 meters. So 20 watts of drive. Get about 50 bird out of it with 20 watts of drive. We're going to kick on the little 2 pill. Audio. Audio. 2400. Audio. Okay. So now this is where the video is going to get kind of choppy. There's going to be a lot of, okay, we're on this frequency. Okay, this is what it does. We're going to be using roughly 100 watts worth of drive at this point, and we're going to go run it out on 15, 20, 40, and 80. So give me just a second, and I'm going to show really clearly where these two dial indicators are at. That way when you get it on the other end, brother, you'll be able to tune it out the same way. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so after about 10 minutes of dicking around with my 706 that's over here in the corner, decided I'd whip out one of my other radios. This is a 7300. This is the latest and greatest from ICOM. Anyhow, we're going to put about 100 peak watts in this thing. That's a 50 watt slug in reverse between the ICOM and the Heathkit SB221. It's a 1000 watt slug in peak, 1000 in average, 5 watt slug in reverse. Hello. Hello. It's about 60 watts of drive. Hello. 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 That's actually quite impressive. Did ICOM finally make a radio that can swing forward on AM? Shut the fuck up. Hello. What's it do on sideband? Hello. There's a full 100 watts on sideband. Hello. Hello. Audio. Hello. Audio. Right at 1000 watts. I bet you if I digged with this, I could get more out of it. Anywho, we're right on the edge of the 80 meter band. And we're indexed down here about halfway. So that means if I re-indexed it the other direction. So we're tuned out. 80 meters. Alright, give me just a second. We're going to jump over to 40. I can honestly say I haven't been this impressed with a ham radio in a long time. This radio is pretty cool. Check it out. Hello, audio. God, to see one swing forward. Anyhow, we're going to put about 50 watts of drive in this from the ICOM 7300. Hello. And just in case you missed that, this is on AM, you guys. Hello. Hello. Look at where it's all indexed. For some reason it's happy around the 15. I'll slide that back over. And this thing is screaming. This box is screaming. 60 watts of drive and it's doing like 1200 watts peak plus. Oh, it does on sideband. I'm going to flirt with the devil here. Take up 2x. Hello. Wow, 18. Look at that. Or 16. Hello, audio. Hello. An 800 bird. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Look at the input tune. Hello, audio. Perfectly flat. All right, let's get on to 20 and let's get done with this thing. Give me just a second. This thing is so cool. This rate, I'm really impressed. I cannot wait for the ICOM 7810 that's coming out. Okay, so, hello, audio. Put about 35 bird into this thing. It's about 50, 60 watts peak. Hello. Those are 1,000 watts out. Input reflect. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Let's jump on to 15 meters and let's get this sucker tied up and in the bag with a bow on it. Okay, last but not least, the 15 meter position. 15 meters. Here's our input power again. Hello, audio. Same 50, 60 watts that we've been playing with since we started. We're on high. Hello. Hello, audio. Input reflect. Hello, 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 hello. Centered for every band. Brother, thank God we're done. Because honestly, I've got to move on to some other things because I'm getting ready to go to the Bakerman break and I'm also coming to Manchester. I'm amazed with this radio. They finally produced an HF rig that wasn't a complete pile of shit on AM. There's been a big hole, you guys. The ICOM 7000 was a turd on AM. Quite a few of the other radios they've produced here lately for AM have been a turd, but this thing is a talking son of a bitch. Brother, it's done. Put new parasitics in it. Took it completely apart and cleaned it. Had to dismount the capacitor bank not once but twice. New band switch in the back. Refurbed the band switch in the front. Replaced the coax that went from the band switch to the tubes. Changed the .01 at the tubes. Replaced the .001, which goes to ground on the front. New high volt board. Completely rewired your meters. Redid those shunts. And changed every single tuner on the front end of this thing. Make it so it's perfectly flat. Let's see, did I do anything on the bottom side? Yes, I replaced the choke that goes over to the primary lead, which is the AC glitch choke. So for some reason that doorknob fails and high voltage flows through. That choke was open on the bottom. And I did another little handful of other stuff. But man, it's done. Done, done, and done, and done again. Guys, look, I love working on these things. They take a lot of time sometimes. Some of them are like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. But obviously, I'll stick with it till it's ready to go. I mean, it's just, you can't quit like halfway through. But this is one of the cleanest amps I've had come in here. And I've had some really clean ones. I've had ones that left here that look better than this because the customer wanted to have everything repainted and the cabinet redone and media blast this, but this thing turned out pretty sweet. Let me turn it up on its side so we can show you the bottom. The bottom side of this is unbuttered as well. Here's your new input coax that runs over to your tube. Perfectly good and clean. And to replace this choke. On-off switch has never been burned up. The keying circuit's still in good condition. Your bus bar in the back for the 110-220 is all set. Metering circuit's all in good shape. Oh yeah, we rebuilt the meter circuit that was back in here by the band switch and totally made it work so it can work in the aux position. So on that note, another SP220 out the door to another very happy, satisfied customer. I sure am grateful for all of the repairs that you guys send up here and how long you guys are willing to wait for me to be able to get around to working on them. I appreciate everybody's patience. On that note, I am out, because I'm pretty sure this video is going to be well over an hour. Gentlemen, my name is BBI. Without a shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. I did 4 live feeds on this box alone on Facebook. All you gotta do is go to the .com, www.bbiamps.com. There's a link on the .com that'll take you directly to my Facebook profile, Twitter, and Snapchat. So I don't do a whole lot with Twitter and Snapchat yet. Anyhow, you want to send one of these up to me to get repaired? I am your guy. I've got a ton of parts. If you've got one of these, it's a ragged, haggard piece of burn-up crap that you'd like to get rid of for a fairly cheap price, I will take it for the parts. Call me. Call this number. I will help you out. I don't get to be here without all you guys. I really don't. The other thing I want to tell everybody is I'm running way low, wicked low on repairs because I've done so many of them lately. 35, 40, 42 amps in the last 2 weeks have gone home from being here for repair. And only a small handful, I think about 5 or 6 that you guys have gotten to watch on video that are public. Everything that leaves here has a video made of it. Guys, I need stuff to repair. The wait time is now down to less than a month for repairs. Send them in. Call me first. I'll tell you yes or no. Send it on in. I'll get you squared away. And on that note, I think I'm off to go work on the 48 pill. Guys, I'll see you. I appreciate y'all's support. Bye.